So let's begin with this. I make decent money, but I am in no way rich. I like to take my family on vacation and have been stymied for the last couple of years. So this summer, I decided to do something I thought was great. I paid for my family to go to Disneyland, not just my wife and kids, but also my father-in-law, mother-in-law, my wife's brother, and his wife and kids. So 10 people. I also rented a McMansion with a pool and everything. I bought all the groceries and rented a truck so I could ferry the luggage, and in case of emergency, we would have a vehicle. My kids are in their teens, and my nephews are a few years younger. My immediate family did not require any help with the kids, and realistically, neither did my in-laws. So we get to the house and the problems start. The room I picked for my wife and me is the nicest. My father-in-law and mother-in-law chose to stay in the pool house. This left 5 other bedrooms for 6 people. Brother-in-law and sister-in-law, my 2 kids, their 2 kids. Simple, right? Not so fast. Why did I get the best room? They hadn't had a nice time alone in years. Why did my kid pick the room with the ensuite? Why did one room have a bigger TV? Why do we have to cook some meals? Why don't we just order every meal? Geez, I went to my room and went to sleep. First day. More BS. Why do we have to wait in line? Why don't we get the tour guide that lets us skip the lines? My wife started joining in. She said we shouldn't be cooking at the house and that it wasn't fair to her and her sister-in-law to be stuck with the cleaning. My kids always help. I do too. Brother-in-law sits on his butt though. My in-laws joined the fun at the end of the day. They didn't want to wait for the Uber. Could they take the truck and meet us back at the house? My wife said to let them. I got sick of it. I ordered everyone pizza, and then while they were gorging themselves, I called an Uber and went to a hotel that I'm a super shiny member of. I used my points to book a suite for the next 6 days. I texted my wife and told her I would catch up with everyone in the morning at the park. She's mad that I left her to deal with those ungrateful, greedy people. I'm sitting in the pool enjoying a gin and tonic and writing this because I left the park after seeing the new superhero stuff there. Her brother and sister-in-law are now bugging her to give up the nice room since she's alone. Now she's not on their side. Too late. So, am I the idiot for leaving them all to sort out their stuff after I went out of my way to do something nice and they crapped all over it? Not the idiot. This is actually hilarious. You took a vacation from your entitled relative's vacation. Maybe you should have warned your wife, brought her along and left the other relatives to figure out things for themselves. I can't even fathom someone sponsoring me for a free vacation like that and saying anything but thank you so much and let me get your suitcase for you. This is fantastic. Next year, tell them since the last vacation wasn't up to their standards, you're gonna let them pay for this one and show you how it's done properly. Enjoy yourself, man. Your kids are old enough to handle themselves, and your wife can enjoy her lovely family. I read correctly. You paid for the trip? For everyone? What is wrong with all these people calling you an idiot? You went above and beyond for your wife's family. They're greedy and ungrateful. Your wife should have shut that down instead of joining them in the whining. I mean, the wife just seemed to be complaining about having to cook and clean for everyone, so I have a bit of sympathy for her there. But the rest is lucky that they still have reservations and a vacation. Update. My wife went beast mode. She told me she was spending the night with me at the hotel after the game. So I'm back at the house tomorrow. My brother-in-law has been told if he even looks at our room, he and his wife are going to a motel. In-laws were told to Uber wherever they wanted. We're still taking everyone out for one dinner, but all other meals not made in the house are paid your own way. And brother-in-law's responsible for cleaning up after meals. Honestly didn't think she had that in her. I, 29, was married to a wonderful man. Unfortunately, he was in the military and he died while serving overseas. I have 3 small kids at home, and the first couple of years were tough on me. My mother-in-law was very nearly perfect. She helped me cope. She helped me through my depression. She cooked, cleaned, and taxied my kids around. I cannot praise her enough. After a while, I started being able to handle my life again. Life insurance and benefits have helped a lot, so we aren't suffering financially. I'm lucky enough to have a 100% work from home job as well. I've recently started dating again. I wasn't really looking, and the first little while was terrible. I've been with my husband since we were in high school. He always treated me like I was everything. This is not what I experienced in a dating pool. But 2.5 years after my husband passed away, I did meet someone in a group I belong to that does historical reenactments, Viking stuff mostly. He's a single dad, and he's sweet, and his daughter gets along with my kids. But now my mother-in-law has started saying that I'm terrible for moving on so quickly, and she's been trying to interfere in my new relationship. She has been excellent about giving me the occasional weekends off from my kids, but now when I ask her, she wants to know if it's to spend time with him. I am not gonna lie, I miss being with a man, especially one who doesn't think a date is a text at 2 in the morning. So now I get my girlfriend to watch my kids when I want some alone time to see if this could go anywhere. But now my mother-in-law is saying I'm keeping my kids away from her. I can't win. All of my husband's relatives are calling and texting me not to keep the kids away from her. I got sick of having to explain myself and finally confronted her. Words were said, ending in me telling her that I would never keep the kids away from her, but that she was being a witch to me, and that if she kept it up, I would move away. I know I was rude. I know she's still mourning her son, and she was a single mom too. I know I might be setting myself up for disappointment with my new friend, but I just can't do this anymore. She is just mean sometimes. Am I the idiot? No idiots here. Your mother-in-law needs grief counseling. Unfortunately, she's so blinded by her grief and probably the rage of losing her child that I don't even think she means what she's saying to you. You're not an idiot either. This is a very hard situation, and of course you lost your temper, but you're processing your own feelings about grief, moving on, etc. too. Maybe you could talk to your mother-in-law into trying a grief therapy group or something with you. Big hugs to you both. OP, your mother-in-law probably feels like a piece of her son is still with her through her connection to you and the kids. You're doing your best to move forward, which is the healthiest thing you can do. But to her, you moving forward might feel like she's losing her son all over again. Tell all your relatives that you're not keeping the kids away. She just won't watch them because she hasn't moved on and wants you to keep from doing so as well. You are the idiot. I'm a stranger, so take my advice with a grain of salt. But I think 2.5 years is quick, especially with young kids involved. Take your time and be careful with bringing anyone into your kids' lives. They've already lost their father. They don't need a new man in their house. Disagree. It's been years and you're moving on too quickly? What were you supposed to do? Remain alone to honor his memory? She's never going to feel like it's been long enough. She might still be mourning, but that does not mean you need to put your life on hold until she's ready. You do not owe your mother-in-law a lifetime of mourning and loneliness. She doesn't get to choose when you enter a romantic relationship again. I, female 26, have a wife, Katie, female 26. I have a younger sister, Lydia, 22, who got engaged to her fiancé, Seth, male 24, around a month ago. Seth's family's pretty well off. His parents work in the business sector and can afford a lavish lifestyle. Although Seth has a decent job, his parents send him money regularly. He proposed to Lydia with a ring that they both constantly brag about, bragging about how expensive it is. Seth claims the ring is worth about $50,000. Katie is a jeweler and has been one for a long time, so Lydia asked if she could clean and polish the ring as a favor. Katie agreed. She told me later in private that the ring was made of cheap materials and was worth no more than $30. After a long conversation, we decided it would be best if I told Lydia. I talked to Lydia in private and explained to her as gently as possible that Katie had a good look at the ring and that it was not worth the amount of money that Seth said it was. Lydia was shocked. She said that Seth must have been scammed by whoever he bought the ring off of. Lydia later talked to Seth. I wasn't there for the conversation, but apparently Seth knew the ring was cheap and was hoping Lydia wouldn't find out. Lydia ended up calling off the engagement and is currently staying with a friend and not talking to Seth. My parents are furious with Katie and me and are accusing us of sabotaging my sister's relationship and saying that we should have minded our own business. They say that there's unfair pressure on men to spend a lot of money on rings and that we were being selfish. Many of our extended family also think we're the villains, so I'm wondering if what we did was the right thing. Edit. Lydia wanted the ring cleaned and polished as she planned a photo shoot. Lydia isn't mad at me or Katie for telling her. She's just very upset that Seth lied to her. The fact that Seth lied and said the ring was worth $50,000 and really worth $30 is the key here. He lied when he didn't have to, repeatedly from the sounds of it. It's not about the ring. It's about dishonesty and trust. It's about character and honor. Not the idiot. She needed to know that he was lying to her. This was my thought exactly. The ring is irrelevant. It's the fact that the lie was comically huge. Yes, there's advertising pressure on men to buy the most expensive ring ever, but many women don't care whether he spends thousands of dollars on an engagement ring or not. Seth could have gotten something reasonably nice that he could afford and been honest with your sister about it. He chose not to. No one forced Seth to lie about the ring's value, let alone continue to brag about it. However, he chose to do that, and his deception would have been discovered whenever Lydia attempted to insure the ring. I'm wondering if Seth is so dumb, or if he lied about the ring because he had no intention of going through with the marriage and set you up to break the truth to Lydia. The person that everyone should be upset with is Seth and no one else. I, 38 female, recently quit my job at a big tech company, making $200K plus, and my husband also makes a similar amount working in tech. I lived very frugally and saved 70 to 75% of my income with my husband. We now have a nest egg big enough to retire and enjoy our passions. He loves carpentry and is making custom furniture, and I'm dog walking and making custom cakes. Now we make enough to support ourselves since our house is paid off. With our nest egg, I think even with inflation, we should make it for the rest of our lives. So we decided to work for ourselves, which meant we didn't make as much. My husband still works as a contractor, but the contract expires in 6 months, and I've already retired. I was burned out already for years, but forced myself through it because I was afraid of retiring during the global uncertainty. But it looks like it's a crapshoot no matter what, so I just retired to enjoy my life. The problem is, I paid for my parents' housing for nearly a decade. My brother has ADHD and lives with them, and has been fired from every job he's had. I believe that my parents coddle him, and not due to his ADHD. He got meningitis as a baby, and while he didn't have any lasting issues, my parents were always really soft on him because of it, and let him get away with everything. Now he's in his 30s and can't hold down a job. So my parents are still raising him, and my mom never worked because my dad was always the breadwinner. But my dad was laid off a decade ago and couldn't find other work in his field, so he's been doing part-time jobs. When they couldn't make rent, they asked me for help and guilted me into it because I made more. So I pay roughly $700 a month for them to stay in their place and have done so for the last decade. In the beginning, I tried to get my mom and brother to work, but they kept saying how tired they were and kept putting off sending out resumes to the point I gave up. About 4 months ago, I told them of my plan to retire early and start my own business. And of course, I was called selfish and ungrateful for cutting them off because I make more and am choosing to quit. Then this month, the landlord came to ask for money, and they ran to me for money again, even though I gave them 4 months' notice and made it clear that this month's rent was the last month I'm paying, and demanding I pay another month because they weren't ready. I told them they had 4 months to figure things out, but I was sick of paying their rent when my parents were still in their early 60s and could work. Now I'm getting repeated calls, texts, and emails, calling me cruel and greedy for cutting them off. Am I the idiot? Not the idiot. I have ADHD and have a career in engineering. Your parents just raised an idiot. If they keep asking you for money, go out see with them. Not your pig, not your farm. Good luck with your retirement. I'm very freaking jealous. I think the correct term is a parasite. They raised a leech. Agreed. 4 months is more than most would get. You complain about your parents enabling your brother, but that $700 enables all of them. ADHD is tough, but millions manage to work with it. It's time for your brother to figure it out. Between the 3 grown adults, they can't come up with $700 a month? Even a part-time job would make up that $700 in a few weeks. ADHD is just an excuse in his case. As someone with ADHD, it's hard, but manageable, and a part of life. Suck it up and work with it. You'll not be given handouts your whole life. Also, that $700 is enabling them. I'm glad you stood your ground and cut them off. They'd have the same excuse next month if you paid this time. Both you and your partner deserve to live the life you've worked so hard to build. However, there is a huge difference between giving a helping hand and surrendering your life to enslavement. I'm 26 female, a PhD student, and I've been dating Sam, 29 male, for the last 3 years. Early on in the relationship, he told me that he's no contact with his family. I've asked him why, but he said that it's not something he wants to discuss. I haven't brought it up since then, and he hasn't dropped any hints as to why. This past weekend, I was at a conference where one of the keynote speakers had Sam's relatively uncommon last name. I texted him a flyer picture and asked, "LMAO, is this your long-lost aunt or something?" He texted me back saying, "No, that's my mom." I talked briefly with Sam's mom during the Q&A session that followed her presentation. She was so nice and patient when answering my questions that I wondered why Sam was no contact with her. After I came home from the conference, I told Sam that I had talked to his mom, and she seemed really nice. He dropped his fork on the floor and completely blew up at me. He accused me of betraying him, even though I told him she had no idea who I was, and that I talked to her to ask her questions about her research. He also said that his no contact with his family automatically meant that I was forbidden from talking to them without his permission. I was so scared because I'd never seen him get angry or raise his voice at anything. So I booked an Uber to a friend's place and told him that I was staying with said friend until he gave me a genuine apology and an explanation as to why he's no contact with his family. You are the idiot. She was so nice and patient while doing her job that you questioned his reason for no contact. That's super naive and so disrespectful to your boyfriend. You then went home and told him, "She's really nice." That blows my mind. It is a massive betrayal to him and what he went through to get to the point of going no contact. People don't stumble upon no contact, so it's a huge decision. How someone is in a professional setting doesn't mean that's how they are in their private life. For example, you likely just came home and told your boyfriend that his abuser seemed really nice, which is a horrible betrayal. Although I feel like he should be disclosing why he's no contact, as you've been together so long, you must respect his boundary. I think that saying, "I was horribly abused," is a perfectly good explanation, and if he's disclosed that, it should be more than enough for OP. Girl, after one brief work-related conversation with a stranger, you no longer trust the judgment of your boyfriend of 3 years to determine if he should have contact with his mother? Then, rather than trying to talk to him, you ran away and demanded an apology, without knowing any of the past histories that made him no contact. What if his family abandoned him at some point? What if his mother did? Without knowing his past trauma, you just did something that could be reopening all of his wounds, while expecting him to apologize to you and open up a part of his life that he never has before. You're just as awful as his mother. I guess you'll be shocked when he cuts you out of his life as well.